Apparently, I don't know, some Windows PCs had some problems last Friday. Who would have thunk it? So this Crowdstrike issue, so an update was issued that caused a whole bunch of millions of PCs to go into a blue screen of death meltdown. I thought, this is 2024. Why are we still having blue screens of death? But anyway, it must have been hilarious if you were showing up at an airport and all you saw were blue screens of death.
Look, I cannot imagine it was what it was like for anyone who was inconvenienced by this. I mean, personally, I'm very old school, so I think just get it together. If you can't catch your flight and you have to sleep on a concrete floor in an airport, be thankful you're not in a war zone, that sort of thing. So, but I do appreciate that not being able to spend money because all your money is on a card or in a transaction that can't happen. That's very serious. But the flip side to this is, and everyone can maybe have a laugh at this because I told you this before, Ben. I started work very early in the morning that day and would have been, I think, when the US would have been going to bed anyway, so maybe they didn't see it. And I got a few blue screens of death and I just thought it was a typical Windows incident. My computer restarted 4 times, probably over about 6 hours. I didn't touch it because it told me not to touch it. It just said, we're going to restart. Don't touch anything, And so I didn't, and it successfully rebooted every time. And I thought, well, that's the price for using Windows, right? Now, I appreciate this is very serious for all the people who lost billions of dollars or whatever else happened or had to sleep on a concrete floor or couldn't get home and that. So it's certainly not making light of that, but gee, it is a worry. If we're going to be upset by these things, if it's really going to be disruptive, then how do things like this happen, Ben? I've got to ask you because you're the only person who can answer.
I'll try the best I can, I guess. Maybe nobody knows. The thing that just quickly because it just occurred to me was that I heard it mentioned that Australia unfortunately cops the brunt end of a lot of these things because in America they'll run an update overnight, but that happens to be that coincides with first thing in the morning here, and then so we get hit, etc. But anyway, that's a side thing, I guess. The thing here too is there was talk about how is it that there's a script, an update script that ends up getting run of code in the Windows kernel to the extent that because Microsoft has allowed access for CrowdStrike to send this through, and I don't know entirely the details. It had something to do with EU antitrust regulations that forced Microsoft to do it. But then, why did it only impact Windows-based computers as opposed to anyone else? Not explaining, not pretending to know the details. Someone can correct me about any of that stuff. But it just seems to me that there's a lot of like hand washing. Oh, no, it's not us, that sort of thing. And it's like ultimately, in this day and age, that kind of update can't be allowed to happen. I mean, it's a human error thing for sure, but it exposed that maybe we shouldn't be relying on these types of PCs, for lack of a better term, to run some of this critical infrastructure in society. That's one aspect, but then there's the other aspect of, well, perhaps an update like this shouldn't have happened in the first place.
Well, I completely agree. An update like this should never have happened in the first place. It's obviously an error. They say 8.5 million computers, but what does that mean? Does that mean the 8.5 million computers in charge of whole networks? I don't know. As I said, I had the restarts forced 4 times during the day, and I just thought it was a normal Windows thing. So but then I didn't touch my laptop because it told me not to touch my laptop. I guess, if anyone had dislodged the power or tried to do a hard reset or anything like that because it was taking too long, that probably broke their machine. we do need to consider, because I think this is a far bigger threat, say, than AI or anything like that. If you're someone who only uses virtual transactions, i.e., not cash, if you're somebody who relies on being somewhere, you know, and you, typically, if you're an ordinary person, this is the toughest thing. You know, if you have means, if you're of a certain class, I'm pretty sure you can get by in situations like this one way or another. But if you're just an ordinary person stuck at an airport, it's not great, especially then if you can't buy yourself something to eat. So, like, yes, how do these things happen? And perhaps we were just very lucky that it was relatively mild and relatively short lived. I mean, I think the comment's already been made. You can imagine if this was a rogue action and it was more serious than this, then where would we have been?